Okay, hi everyone. Hmm, Okay, hi everyone. Apologies for the delayed start. I was getting kicked out of the YouTube account multiple times, but I think it works now. Um, just let me know in the chat if there are any issues throughout the webinar, and yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started really quickly. Um, so if you guys have any requests for any charts you'd like me to go through, feel free to pop them into the chat. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to today's webinar. So today we are going to be doing a pre-market live analysis. As per usual, a disclaimer first. A risk warning as well. Trading Forex and CFDs carries a high level of risk to your capital, and you should only trade with money that you can afford to lose. Trading Forex and CFDs may not be suitable for all investors, so please ensure that you fully understand the risk involved and seek independent advice if necessary. Please read and ensure you fully understand our risk disclosure. Okay, so here's our agenda. We're going to start off by looking firstly at some analysis on FX majors, and then we'll look at commodities, crypto, and indices, and any custom requests. Okay. Um, so I'm Melanie and I'll be your speaker for today. I'm an investment analyst at Rocket, who are finalist for Best FX and Equity Research in the years 2019 to 2021. We specialize in technical analysis with a focus in Fibonacci retracements, extensions, and projections. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at all of the economic events for this coming week. Oops. Okay, so for this week, let's take a look at some of the economic events. I like to use forexfactory.com, but there are a bunch of economic calendars out there that you can use mostly for free. So it's up to you which you choose. So looking at this week's events, so you can see I have it currently filtered to only focus on the orange and the red icons. So those are the medium and high impact events. But we can also look at the low impact events and any non-economic events, which would be this gray icon here. And you can also filter out any um, event types or any currencies that you want to focus on. So today, yeah, so you can see once I have all of the filters ticked, there are a lot more events to get through. So that's why I like to just focus on the orange and red icons so that we focus on the events that have the greatest impact on our charts. So today there aren't any events. Tomorrow, oops. Okay, yeah. So and then tomorrow, Bank of Canada, Gov Macklem will be speaking. On Wednesday, the S&P Composite 20 HPI year-on-year data will be released. UK's monetary policy report hearings, US CB consumer confidence, and JOLTS job openings. Australia's CPI data will be released as well. So that is inflationary data. You can see it's high impact events. And they're both expected to drop from a previous 1.0 and 2.7 to 0.3 and 2.3 respectively. There will also be German preliminary CPI, Spanish flash CPI, US ADP non-farm employment change, and US advanced GDP data, and UK autumn forecast statement. On Thursday, we'll have pending home sales, crude oil inventories, Australia's retail sales, China manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI, and Japan monetary policy statement and policy rate, Euro CPI flash estimate, Canadian GDP, and US core PC price index, employment cost index, and unemployment claims. On Friday, we have Chicago PMI and Swiss CPI data, as well as US average hourly earnings and non-farm employment change, as well as unemployment rate. Okay, let's jump right into our charts. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with DXY first. Can everybody see my charts? Oh. Okay, should be okay now. Just let me know in the chat if there are any issues. Okay, so I like to start off by looking at our weekly time frame so that we get an idea of the general direction of trend. So you can see that on our weekly time frame, recently prices have been picking up, and on our daily time frame, okay, on our daily time frame, you can see prices picking up as well. Okay, so the general trend here is pretty bullish. So I'm gonna go ahead and place our first resistance over here. Or rather, a pivot. Okay, I'll label it as pivot. And I'm placing it here because we can see prices reversing off this swing high. It's also in line with another swing high and swing low here. Okay, my first resistance will go up here to the swing high. And my first support yeah, maybe here. Okay, so at this level, you can see this is a overlap level because it's in line with a swing low, and a couple of swing highs as well. Okay. So now we're gonna go in with our Fibonacci levels. Okay, I'm gonna start off with a retracement. Okay, so you can see our 23.6 retracement lines up with our first support. Okay, now I'm going in with another retracement. Okay, so you can see our 78.6 lines up with our pivot, even though the 61.8 also lines up with our first support. Price has already broken out of that level, so we can't use it. Okay, so we're just gonna keep the 78.6. Okay, I think that might be all the levels, the Fibonacci levels we have here. So let's take a look at our indicators. Start off by using Ichimoku and MACD because at one glance you can see exactly what your signals are. Okay, so as you can see on our Ichimoku, prices are moving upwards, so that is giving us a bullish signal. On MACD, you can also see it's giving us a very bullish momentum as well. Okay, so I actually might move our first support lower to this area here. Okay, and the reason is, I am expecting prices to reverse and continue upwards. So where we placed it originally, which was here, right? I'm just gonna label it as an intermediate support because I'm expecting prices to continue downwards but reverse back upwards, push above our pivot and head towards our first resistance. Okay, especially with the very bullish momentum that we see here. Let's look at Bollinger Bands. You can see prices still continuing to push upwards. Let's go ahead and look at our RSI. Okay, RSI isn't telling us much here. Let's maybe look at stochastic. The stochastic isn't telling us much as well. Okay, let's maybe look at our moving averages. So I like to use both the SMA and EMA together. Okay, so you can see prices moving above both of our indicators, which is a bullish signal. Okay, so I'm expecting it to continue moving upwards. Okay, but just be careful of this pivot level because price has already tested it once. But we'll have to see if prices are able to reverse off of our this dotted intermediate support. If it's able to reverse off and continue heading upwards. Okay, so I'll just put this here. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Are there any other requests? Yeah, we can take a look at gold as well. Let me just save my chart. Okay, so on our weekly time frame, you can see prices definitely pushing upwards. On our daily time frame as well, although it looks like prices are currently testing this resistance level here, which I'm gonna label as our pivot. And I'll just label this swing low as our first support. Okay, you can see our 161 lines up with our pivot. Um, so if you're not familiar with Ichimoku, sorry, Fibonacci, this is the shape that we're using for the 161 and the 127. Basically, all the levels that are greater than 100%. When you're using this tool, the flip retracement, this is the kind of shape that we're looking for. We just call it the Nike tick. So this is if it's inverted. Okay, and what it does is we're basically projecting where prices might bounce off of. So you can see here prices have already reversed off of our 161.8. If prices are able to push past this level, then it will no longer be valid and we'll just remove that level. But as of right now, prices are still testing that level. Okay, next I'm going in with our projection. Okay, my 100% lines up with our pivot as well. Excuse me. Okay, so my minus 61.8 lines up with our pivot. Okay, now I'm just gonna use a projection again. Okay, so you can see the 61.8 is quite close to our pivot. Um, so what we're doing when it comes to Fibonacci levels is we're basically looking for resistance confluence areas, because at these confluence areas there tends to be more resistance. So here at our pivot, you can see this huge confluence area here. Okay, we have about 4 Fibonacci levels that line up here. Um, yeah, so that's basically what a confluence area is. So for example, with our 61.8, it doesn't have to line up exactly with the other levels. Just as long as it's quite close to it, that's good enough. Because like I mentioned, we're looking for areas more so than specific levels. Okay, I might add an intermediate support over here. Okay, just because I can see prices testing the pivot, so it might reverse off and test this support level instead. Okay, but as of right now, it looks pretty bullish, so we are expecting prices to maybe continue upwards, especially since prices are also moving in this ascending trend line. Okay, let's take a look at our indicators. Again, I'm starting off with Ichimoku and MACD. You can see both of these indicators are giving us a pretty bullish signal, with prices moving above the cloud and MACD giving us a pretty bullish momentum as well. So I am expecting prices to continue upwards. Just be careful of this confluence area here. Let's look at Bollinger Bands. See, with Bollinger Bands, prices are also pushing above the upper band. Okay, so that's also giving us a bullish signal. Uh, okay, on our RSI, it's also giving us a bullish signal with prices moving in an ascending trend line. Okay, let's look at our moving averages, and you can see prices also moving above both of the indicators, so that's also giving us a bullish signal. Okay, okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look at um uh yep, dollar CAD, dollar yen, uh dollar franc, and euro dollar. Okay, let's see if we can get through all of those. Okay, starting off with dollar CAD. Okay, so again, on our weekly time frame, you can see prices moving upwards pretty recently. On our daily time frame, it's quite bullish as well. Okay, so this is my pivot. Excuse me. Okay, and then um let's go in with our projections. Or rather, let's put our first support first over here. Okay, my 23.6 lines up with our first support. Okay, for my first resistance, I'll place it in line with the 78.6 projection. Mm, okay, my 100% kind of lines up with our first resistance. Okay, so I am expecting prices to continue moving upwards. We just normally will follow the trend, the general trend, unless there are very clear reasons why you think there might be a reversal. So it could be divergence when you're using stochastic or RSI, or if there's a huge confluence area, for example. Okay, over here we don't really have any big confluence areas to take note of except this first resistance area. Okay, we can see prices moving above the cloud, each MACD giving us a pretty bullish momentum as well. So that's also giving us, also supporting our analysis. Let's look at Bollinger Bands. Okay, Bollinger Bands aren't really telling us much now because even though it is moving in the upper band, it's not really giving us a very strong um upward momentum here. Okay, so I'm not going to use that. Let's look at MAs. So prices are moving above both of our moving averages. So that's also giving us supporting our analysis. RSI isn't really telling us much here. Let's maybe look at stochastic. Okay, stochastic isn't telling us much as well. Okay. Are there any questions about this? Okay, let's move on. Let me see. Okay, yeah, dollar yen. Um, okay, someone asked, can gold and DXY go up at the same time? Yeah, so um, they are normally inversely correlated, but and it is quite uncommon. But if we go back to our gold and DXY charts, um, there are scenarios where um both assets might appreciate together, and that can be due to overlapping drivers, you know. So it could be interest rate movements. We could also be looking at um global economic uncertainty, you know, because investors will then flock to both gold and our US dollar as safe haven assets. And we did mention prices might reverse off here, so that in a way is kind of dropping a bit, but in the long run, I'm expecting it to break out of the pivot and head towards our first resistance. On the other hand, if we look at gold, we are expecting it to just continue upwards. Okay, just going back there. But yeah, thank you for the question. That's what we're looking at. We were looking at dollar yen. Yeah. Yeah, it could also be due to geopolitical events. Okay, so on our weekly time frame, prices are moving upwards pretty recently. Daily time frame as well is pretty bullish, although prices have been reversing off this resistance level here. Um, okay. So for my first support, I'll place it here. Excuse me. And for my first resistance, I'll place it up here. Okay. Now I'm going in with my retracements. Okay, so my 88 lines up with my first resistance, and my 61.8 lines up with my pivot as well. So we'll keep the 61 and the 88. Okay. I'm think we might have a Nike tick here as well. Okay. You can see the 127 lining up with our pivot. So I will be keeping that as well. Let's see if our 161 is in line with any key areas, and then we can just label that as kind of an intermediate level. Okay, we kind of do have a bit of a swing high here and swing low. Okay, so this is my intermediate level. And I'm just taking note of that level to be careful since it's in line with the 161.8. Okay, I'm going in with another retracement here. Okay, my 23.6 lines up nicely. Okay, my 78.6 also lines up with the intermediate level. 61.8 also lines up. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at some indicators. Ichimoku MACD, prices are moving above the cloud. MACD is also giving us a bullish signal. Now, if we look at Bollinger Bands, we can kind of see prices reversing off of that upper band in line with our pivot. Uh, but overall, the trend is still pretty bullish. Okay, so I am expecting it to continue upwards. But again, just be careful of this confluence area here. And also this intermediate resistance that's in line with 2 Fibonacci levels. Okay. Um, I'm just checking to see if we have a divergence here as well. Okay, we might have a bit of a divergence level here. Okay, so where these swing highs are, you can see prices have dropped after reaching these levels. Okay, let me highlight this. Okay, so after these levels, you see prices drop and again here. Right, so we might be seeing the same thing happen here as well, especially with prices recently dropping off. Okay, so I think we might see a slight drop. It might not be as significant as this second one here. Might be something like from our first resistance to the pivot, that kind of the pip difference. But ultimately the momentum is still pretty bullish. But just take note of this divergence over here. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Um, yeah, we can look at dollar franc. Okay. So on our weekly time frame, you can see prices are really fluctuating here. Uh, Daily time frame. Okay, this will be my pivot, and my first resistance will be up here. Oops. First support, maybe in line with this swing low. Okay, because we also have two swing lows in this area and also one swing high. Excuse me. Okay, so going in again with our Fibonacci levels. Okay, my 50% lines up with our first resistance. Um, okay, wait. 50 and the 38.2. Okay. I think maybe we have another retracement here. Yeah, 50% lines up with our pivot. Mm, okay, my 100% also lines up with our pivot. So you can see this area where price is currently at is quite a big confluence area here. Okay, and maybe one last retracement over here. So our 38.2 lines up with our first support. Okay, now let's look at our indicators. Okay, here prices are currently moving within the cloud, which suggests kind of a transitional phase. So it doesn't really tell us any trend right now, so we'll KIV that. On MACD, you can see it's giving us a bullish signal. If we look at RSI, okay, prices are also moving in an uptrend here. Okay, moving in upward trend line. Okay, so that's also giving us a bullish signal. Let's look at Bollinger Bands. Okay, Bollinger Bands are kind of not really telling us much since prices are reversing off that upper band as well. Okay, so in this case, we have kind of mixed signals coming from the indicators that we've used. Okay, prices moving above as well currently, um, but it kind of looks like, okay, if I zoom in really closely, can you see it looks like prices are um moving over, like crossing over, or rather crossing below our moving averages, which is a bearish signal instead. Okay, so with all of the mixed signals, I'm actually going to keep um just our moving averages for now, because I think prices are going to reverse off of this huge confluence area, mainly because firstly, we have a huge confluence area here, prices are testing this level, so we might see prices reverse and hit to our first support. Secondly, also because our moving averages, both of them, are going to end up moving below prices. Okay, at least that's what it looks like for now. Okay, so we'll still have to keep this in check for now. Okay, just to see if prices do end up crossing below both of the moving averages. Um, yeah. Okay. Okay, I think that's all the time that we have for today. Um, and I think I went through all of the requests as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys found the session helpful. Um, again, apologies for the technical issues at the start. But yeah, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take a few. But if not, yeah, feel free to leave the session. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys again next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thank you. You too. Have a good week. Okay, thanks, everybody. See you guys.